The converted man here. And the Christian side is stupid, and I'm right. Oh, right. Anyways, so this guy, CAProductions-e7n, said, hey, if I could offer a respectful critique, you can't just simply look at the Christian side and say, that's stupid, I'm right. Hey, I just did that. I can, in fact, do that. Anyways, it falls into the trust me logic. Well, yeah, you should trust me because I understand logic, informal logic specifically. And so, yeah, you should trust me. Anyways, also, could you provide me a single piece of evidence for atheism? Something that without a doubt proved God is not real. Okay. All right, here we go. All right, we're doing this again. Okay, so atheism is the position that people don't believe in God. Period. There is another definition, but I don't know if anyone actually uses it except for maybe in academia. The academic definition of atheism is there's no God. But the colloquial Zeitgeist definition, according to the small-scale survey I've done, results still tentatively waiting to be put up and everything, but everybody that I asked that's a non-believer, without knowing that they were doing it, had all agreed that atheism means a lack of belief in God. They didn't collaborate. They didn't tell each other what was going on. They didn't know who was answering these questions. They all answered that one question basically the same way, slightly different wording. But they all thought that that's what the word atheist means. The American Atheist Association says atheism is just a lack of belief in God. That's it. And by and large, atheists online have said repeatedly, atheism is not believing in God. It is not the statement, there is no God. Although that is a version of the word, but it is not how anyone that is currently using this word atheist recognizes this word. Therefore, it might as well not be that word. The word means without God, technically speaking. And then we humans decide how we want to use that word. And the atheists that have self-identified as such, or even those who don't like that label have self-identified in other ways, all agree, as far as my survey goes, atheism is, I don't believe in God, which is different than saying that there is no God. Okay. So, when you say or write what you said, you are expressing a uninformed opinion of atheism that doesn't fit. Asking for evidence of atheism is a category error. Atheism isn't an evidential thing because that's not what it is. It is a description of a person's position, not a prescription for what you think. Okay, the description is, I don't believe in God. That's the description. It is not a prescription that, therefore, there's no God, or therefore the universe came from nothing, or therefore I don't believe in an afterlife, or any other thing other than God. I could believe in an afterlife, spirits, souls, demons, devils, angels, heaven, hell, reincarnation, ESP, whatever. I could believe in all of that. As long as I don't believe in God, I'm an atheist. What is God? I don't have any idea. Don't know. That's up to the person that claims what God is. They're the ones that make the claim, the positive claim, there is a God. And I go, oh, that's interesting. What is God? Then they have to describe God. And I have to ask, how do you know that that is God? And when they inevitably fail to describe how they know that that is God, I say, well, I'm skeptical about that idea. I don't believe you. I am holding this idea of God in question until you can provide me some reason to think it is a thing. That is not me saying it isn't a thing, but it depends on what your description of God is. Because certain descriptions of God, I would say that there is no God, if that's what God is. So it all depends on what you think God is, that I could prove God isn't real. Because that all depends on what you say God is. So if you say God is this creature that requires 1 + 1 to equal 1,000, that entity that you've labeled God cannot exist in reality as we know it, because 1 + 1 doesn't equal that. Let's take a more abstract notion. 75,000 to the power of 97. No idea what that is. Don't know. I know the answer isn't the answer of 1 or 0 or a negative number. It's something big. I know that, but I don't know what the answer is without plugging that in. And if somebody says, oh, the answer to that is God. Okay. So God's a number. No. No, the answer to that question is God. What do you mean by that? There's no, it's, but what is the answer? Doesn't matter. The answer is God. That doesn't make any, that there's nothing there to explore. So that kind of God can't exist either. A God that has no proof to it isn't. Imagine a jar full of marbles, and the claim is made there's an odd number of marbles in the jar. You're not allowed to count them. Is there an odd number in the jar? Now, you're not going to say no, but you're not going to say yes either. You're going to say, I don't know. I have no belief in regards to this. Maybe it's odd, maybe it's even. You're the one making the claim, though. You're the one saying it's odd. So you need to prove that it's an odd number. Otherwise, why should I believe you? Oh, you're saying that it's not odd. No, I'm telling you, I don't believe you because you have not proven your statement. That's what atheism is. It is, I don't believe you because you haven't given me a reason to believe. Disprove God. Well, tell me what God is, and then maybe I can do that. It really depends on what you think God is. Because I don't know what you mean by God. I have no idea. There's tens and thousands of different concepts of different gods out there. How should I know? And I looked at this guy's channel, and it had some sports stuff on it. So I have no idea what his version of God is. None. Don't know. I could guess, but I don't want to do that. Because I don't want to be wrong. I don't want to straw man you. I don't want to assume that you believe in Yahweh versus Josephus as God, or the Shiva the Destroyer, or Zul, or Lod, or Zeus, or whatever else. I don't want to. I don't know. And some people don't even know what their version of God is. So they're like, well, it's the God of the Bible. What does that mean? What is that? That's not a definition either. You're going to need to tell which Bible, by the way. Well, there's only one Bible. No, you don't know what the word Bible is. You got to educate yourself just a little bit. And it's funny that this comment winds up on a video where I'm just complaining about how people are being stupid and not learning. Because here's an example of somebody just being stupid and not learning. Learn what the word atheism is. Really. It's not that hard. I mean, there's definitions of it that include both definitions. Ask ChatGPT why asking for proof of not God isn't a thing. Yeah. The God of the Superman comics. Yeah, exactly. You might as well say that. Which Superman comics? All of them, because different Superman comics are written by different people with different ideas of Superman. So, yeah. So what is it that you're wanting to be disproven? And ultimately, let's do that thought experiment. Let's say that I was able to provide some evidence, argument, etc., that disproved your version of God. You would reject it. 100%. No doubt in my mind that you would reject it. You would not accept it. And I know that because in the video where this comment is on, I'm showing that a person, after I cited several peer-reviewed papers as well as other articles that explain that the cosmology of the Big Bang has nothing to do with an actual explosion, insisted that it was an explosion, even though every other paper I showed said, no, it isn't. But I cited the one article that said it was. Stupid. You gotta try to be that stupid. You have to try, force yourself into being that stupid. Bending over backwards to remain ignorant. Somebody had just recently said, logic and science, and it's, you know how to disprove God. I'm like, no, it's not about that. It's not about disproving God. No. It's about being skeptical, which is very different than disproving anything. It's about the claim being made is one that you and I and everyone should be skeptical about. It doesn't mean to say it isn't. It just means, I don't know. Could be true, could be false, but I have no reason to think, if the argument's bad enough, maybe I see it as false because it's just so bad of an argument, but I shouldn't, because it's not, truly within the confines of logic to do that, but it's an emotional thing we humans do. So you got to tell me what God is. Then I can tell you why that isn't. But even if I did, you would just reject it anyways, because why wouldn't you? People do this all the time. This one person asked me for the logical fallacies in the video, and I'm like, it's all of them, because I was being lazy. And they're like, no, what ones? And I'm like, all right, fine, here's all the fallacies. Oh, those aren't the fallacies in the video. I'm like, well, why'd you ask me if you didn't want the answer? Oh, because I won the internet argument. And I'm like, no, you didn't. You lost the argument. You didn't care about the answer. You'd already made up your mind. And someone accused me, your presupposition is there's no God. No, it's not. I don't have a presupposition like that. I don't even know what God is. Or, I that's up to God, if there's one, to tell me what it is. And since it isn't doing that, far as I can tell, then that's up to the humans that are claiming that there's a God. People like to say, oh, the heavens declare the glory of God. That's nice. And it didn't convince me. I don't see that when I look at the heavens, which is what? The stars? Is that the heavens? I don't know. Is it the sky? What am I looking at that's the heavens? How is it declaring the glory of God? Why does God have glory? Like, what is that? How is that an attribute of something? The glory of deconverted man. What the bleep does that mean? You know, it doesn't have any real meaning. It's poetic. It's artistic. And also in that video where I was complaining about people being dumb, the guy said, you know, nothing in the Bible is wrong. And I'm like, well, Genesis is completely wrong. Oh, well, it's not meant to be used as a science book. Oh, okay. So it is wrong. It's just it doesn't matter that it's wrong. You will insist that whatever explanation I give that negates God is wrong because you want God to exist. I don't have a stake in the matter. I don't care if God does or doesn't exist. I just want to know what's real. If it turns out there's a God, cool. I'll celebrate that. I will announce it. I will defend it. I will promote it. I will showcase it. I'll change my channel name, whatever, and I'll be all about it. But in order to know that God is, well, we need some method to demonstrate that, don't we? So what method are you going to use? Not going to be informal logic because you haven't learned it. And it's not going to be science because you don't know that much. And maybe it's going to be philosophy, but you need a system there. Hello. So, yeah. You don't even know what you're asking for. On a video where I'm complaining about people being stupid, here again is a great example of people being stupid. Do some basic research on this before you ask that sort of question. Maybe next time, don't ask that question. But it's not about what the evidence is against. It's about what's the evidence for. And you don't have any. And if you think you do, present it. And I mean actual evidence. The evidence we have of everything else. That type of evidence. That's all I've got. Until next time, be skeptical. Now I'm done. Time. Yeah.